a sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me.
Hello, everybody. I'm so pleased to welcome back to the show, Robert Bockstael. Welcome back, Robert.
Hi, Nancy. Thanks for having me back.
You're welcome. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
You know, there's probably about 5 different pronunciations of it, and they're all okay.
Oh, right, good. It's kind of interesting about names. We pronounce our last name one way, right? And other people say it differently. And it's like my last name is so simple to me. Guitar, like how can that confuse anybody? But it does.
It does, eh?
Yeah.
Do they like use a silent G?
Well, they don't quite understand. Is it really guitar? So they want to say like guitar or good. They're not sure where to go with it.
Right.
No, it's just like the instrument, people. But don't pronounce it like an English person. We pronounce it with the French pronunciation.
Oh, I see.
Anyway, so let's get on to you. So now you're an author, right?
I am.
Now, when did you start writing?
Well, tell you the truth, I really enjoyed writing when I was quite young. I think in elementary school, somewhere around grade 7, I had one of those, those memorable teachers that just stay with you forever. And he assigned everybody to write a short story based on a painting. And he handed out these little cards that had beautiful, classic paintings on them.
Right.
And you got to choose one, whichever one you liked, and you took it home for the weekend and wrote a short story based on that. And the one I got was Vincent van Gogh, actually, Starry, Starry Night, which is, it's an extraordinary painting.
Right.
And I wrote a short story about it. And I'll never forget to this day how much I enjoyed immersing myself in that story that I created, this little world that I created around this painting.
Right, yeah.
And that's kind of stayed with me. So I wrote some really bad poetry in high school. And I suppose we all do.
Yes.
And I've always written little short stories, for my own amusement and for the amusement of my friends. I wrote little radio dramas when I was in high school. And then later on, when I started in theater, I wrote a little bit of theater. I wrote a one-act play that had a small workshop production at the National Arts Center. And then I started writing, later on, I started writing some television. And I really got the bug. Seriously, I got into a development deal with Global. For 2 years, I was writing a series that I'd created.
Nice.
It never got off the ground, but at least they financed me through the whole writing process, and I learned a lot. And it was just at that point that I decided I was going to try to write long form. So not long after that kind of crashed and burned with Global Television, I decided I was going to write a book. But as practice, I wrote a series of short stories while I was writing the book, just to kind of tighten up my form and stuff.
Right.
So I still write short stories. I've been published all over North America in literary magazines. I'm about to put out a collection of short stories, actually, hopefully by Christmas.
Very good.
Yeah, and and in the midst of it, I wrote this book here, Willow's Run, my novel that's available all over the world in all formats. And you have it on your, that's it, awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind people, because the first time you're on, in case there might be people who haven't seen that interview.
Right.
I just want to remind them of that. No,
cool, thank you.
I know this is going to air after this tomorrow, but you have an audition tomorrow, right?
Yes, I do.
That's kind of exciting. Can you tell me anything about it?
No.
Well,
it's kind of no, it's a biggie. It's very big. And what's it? I can't really give you any details.
Okay.
Where the thing is nowadays, when you do this kind of stuff, everybody's sworn to secrecy. I don't know why. It has to do with the studios. It has to do with this, but it is the kind of the first big decent audition that I've had in quite a long time, because I do live in Ottawa.
Right.
And it's not exactly the center of the Hollywood North up here.
Yeah.
At all. I mean, they make some Christmas movies up here, but for some reason they don't seem to want me in them, and that's okay. So I haven't been going down to Toronto for the last few years for auditions, for obvious reasons. But now that the game is kind of rolling up again now, they're casting a wide net for some of these bigger productions that they're shooting in Toronto.
Right.
And my local agent managed to secure me an audition. I mean, the thing is, what's wonderful about it is that the casting directors in Toronto still remember me.
Oh,
because I worked out of there for almost 35 years. And, after, but I've got over 100 credits on my IMDb page for those who are interested. But about, 7 TV series that I was in as a lead or a recurring character. So they knew me pretty well down there. And so it was nice that when this came up, and it's for a lead in a big television series,
cool.
There's going to be a lot of us reading for it.
Right.
But it's nice to be remembered, and so it should be fun to do. I've never done a Zoom audition before, so that's going to be interesting.
The world has changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I do think that they are doing auditions now where, for the larger roles anyway, for some of the smaller parts, a couple of lines or whatever, I think they can cast online, or they can cast with self-taping, right, where you just film yourself with your phone. But I think for the leads in the larger roles, they'll do a Zoom audition, and then they'll physically bring you in person for a screen test.
Right.
So so that's coming back.
But it's kind of just think about kind of a great idea to do it, like, so they can get some feel by seeing you before they actually meet you in person, right?
Yeah, for sure. In the old days, that's what the casting agents used to do. You would go into their office and they would film you and have a reader and do the audition, and they would send that tape to the producers and the director, who would look at it and decide whether they wanted to see you in person or not.
Okay.
So it's the same thing,
Yeah.
except I'm not going into a room for this. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm sitting at my desk. I don't know.
It is kind of weird, but again, so totally interesting, and we just, I guess in this type of thing, where like I'm doing, one time nobody did interviews like this, right?
Absolutely.
So it's just the way life is now, and I think
Yes.
cool. So what else you have happening in your life?
Well, I planted a garden. I started growing plants from seed. I was not getting very many auditions, as I said. So I took up my little studio apart that I have down in my basement, and I used the beautiful studio lights as grow lights. I turned them up like this and put them over a desk.
Oh, nice.
And then I grew all my little plants with those. So now I have quite a substantial vegetable garden out in my backyard this year, which I'm enjoying. And we're already reaping the benefits of it. We're eating the zucchinis that get big overnight,
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. I've got thousands of tomatoes just about to come in, and beans, and all that stuff. So that's fun.
Yeah.
And let's see what else. My son has been getting some work. He's gotten a couple of jobs for the summer, job, and that's nice. So it's exciting for him to be learning new skills and stuff, and actually getting paid.
Yeah. How old is
he? Is 27, and he has autism, among a few other things. And he's been in school up until last year, where he was in an adult school for people with disabilities. And it was kind of a training school. And so he had a whole year of job placement last year, and he really enjoyed it, and he got good at it. So this year, the proof's going to be in the pudding. He's not going to be in school anymore. He's going to be in the job market. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun for him.
Yeah.
And my wife is, she's a teacher. She just had a fantastic year teaching English as a second language to new Canadians.
Oh,
And she has realized that her whole life has led up to this. She just loves it, absolutely loves it.
right. Yeah.
So yeah, so she did that all year, and now she's taking a break for the summer.
Mhm.
Teachers don't get paid during the summer, much, contrary to popular belief. So, that's why I'm growing a vegetable garden.
Help supplement. The government sent us what? Some of us got like $200 supposed to help towards our groceries. Hello.
You do what you can.
Yeah, I know, but I just have to laugh about it. Kind of silly.
Yeah.
Now we know that the writer's strike is still on, right?
Yes, in the States.
In the States, yeah. So that doesn't affect anything here, right?
Well, I think it does affect certain productions that are they were scheduled to shoot in Canada, because of course the big giants like Netflix have massive studios in Toronto now, and so they're pumping out a lot of product out of there. So I suspect that there's been quite a slowdown there because of the writer's strike and because of the actor's strike. That's really going to knock them for a loop.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of things happening at the same time, and I watch The View, and they're not used to having to write their own material, right, on the cards, and it's like they're trying to read their notes afterwards. It's kind of funny to watch them actually.
Well, it's interesting, I think, for a lot of people to realize that a lot of these shows that they think are just off the cuff, they're all scripted.
Yeah,
and they have teams of writers writing this stuff, churning it out.
Yeah.
So.
You said you've written for a TV show, right? You did. So I'm always curious about that, and we may have talked about that in the past, but so you write something, you decide you have this concept in mind and write that, but who do you approach? How do you know who to approach?
Well, it's really, really hard to find out, how to get through to someone who might be interested in seeing your material. For instance, in the old days, what you would do is if you wrote a script, you have to have it, written a certain way. It has to be formatted a certain way. It has to be, it's very specific what they will accept or not. But you used to mail it off to like a production company or a big producer like 20th Century Fox. You would find the name of the person who receives scripts and send them. But in the last 20 years, the scripts would be stamped. This has not been opened. This has not been opened, and it would all be taped and everything. That nobody ever opened this, and they would just send it back because they don't accept unsolicited scripts anymore, because they get thousands and thousands of them every day.
Right.
So now you have to go through channels. You might find a smaller production house that's in Canada if you're Canadian writing.
Yeah.
You might find somebody who's actively looking for scripts. It's pretty difficult, and I'm in the business, so and have been for almost 40 years, so I do know some people in the business, but it was still difficult to get my material to somebody who would actually have the time and the inclination to read it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been flogging this for a solid year.
Right.
And I haven't even got a nibble from any film production houses. And I know people in the business. I've been sending it directly to producers and directors, and not a nibble. I mean, most people don't have time to read a book. They don't even have time to listen to what the story is about. So it's very, very difficult.
For sure, yeah. Too bad, I had this concept. We just laughed with my sister. I have two sisters that live near me, The rest of them live out of another province. But I always think about, the Real Housewives or whatever, and I said, well, what about the Real Sisters of Chilliwack? Of course, it would have to be a comedy because, I
think the idea is that you would have to approach someone locally, right? You would have to find a local film production company, and you present them with something like a finished script,
right,
and a concept. What I did was I had an entire first script and several outlines for other stories that I sent to a guy I knew, and he said, "Okay, you know what? I like this idea. Let's develop it further. And what we're going to do is I'm going to partner up my production company with Global Television, because he knew somebody there, a producer there, and they were looking for stuff. And excuse me for a second. And so they said, it just turns out that we have a whole bunch of development money this year, and so we'll give your producer a bunch of development money.
Okay.
So he took his cut, gave me my cut, and we worked through 18 months worth of developing the series. And then they gave it a green light. Global said, yeah, sure, let's do it. We're going to do 9 one-hour episodes. And then I didn't hear from them for 10 days. And it turns out that Global had a huge shift in ownership, and all the producers had been moved, and everything had been cleared off their desks, and it was done. It was finished.
Right.
That kind of thing happens all the time.
Sorry.
Well, I think the bottom line is find someone locally that will produce it locally, and they go out and find the money and the broadcaster, and they are the ones who get those deals, not you.
Right. Unfortunately, my sisters would never follow script. Never mind. But, when you say things change, like when my show originally aired, when Shaw had that's our internet service here.
Yes.
Had a local, they had to have a community access station.
Yeah.
Right. So they had a channel, and then that was ruled by the CRTC. And then once the CRTC changed the rules, they no longer had to do that. Shaw just shut it down, everything they had locally, which is too bad, because a lot of people, not just from our show, there was a lot of other things on it, but a lot of people enjoyed watching the things they had on there, And
of course.
Sometimes you think they kind of, that expression, cutting off your nose to spite your face, like you didn't have to do that. They still have it in some spots, like in Winnipeg, for instance, and other parts of British Columbia, but they kind of link Chilliwack with Vancouver, and we're so moved in a way, but it is what it is. Anyway, so moving on with your future, do you have any other plans?
Well, sorry, I just had a candy. My writing has taken a little bit of a backseat to other, the realities of life for a little while, but I've been picking away at a handful of short stories that I started some time ago, and I'm kind of wrapping them up. And I have a whole bunch of previously published short stories that the copyright has reverted back to me.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to publish a collection of those.
Nice. Yeah.
Hopefully for Christmas, but who knows? It could be next Christmas. I don't know.
Yeah. Well.
So there's that. And I've also written another novel. And I'm on my third draft of it, and I've kind of set it aside a little bit while I'm doing the short story stuff. But I hope to be able to kind of buckle down and get at it starting in September. And I'm also, I've been doing some library tours, promoting my book, and I've been doing a couple of cons, these Comic-Con, where they have conventions for like comic books and superheroes and all this, people dressed up walking around. And I've been invited to a few because I had such a varied and long voiceover career, cartoon voiceover career. And there's a lot of interest in that now.
Right.
90s cartoons have become really popular again.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So people want, they come and meet me and I sign my autograph and stuff, and maybe I sell a book or two, I have a little booth. So I've been doing a few of those. Those were fun.
Very good. Well, it's nice catching up with you.
Yeah, the same.
Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna end it there. All right. I just realized I have something on the stove that I forgot about.
No.
So I don't want my smoke alarm to go off. Well, this is reality, right? But anyway, just stay on camera. I just want to remind the audience you've been listening to Robert Bockstael. I always say Bockstael, but it's not spelled steel. So
no, it's got the AEL, just like Michael. Michael is spelled AEL, Michael.
Okay. Oh,
so it's some people say Bockstael, others say Bockstael. If you think of it where the horse lives, a Bockstael, that's the easiest one.
Bockstael. Okay. Well, it would be so much easier for me if it was spelled that way.
I know.
Not that I expect you to change your name. Anyway, thanks again, Robert. And thank you all for watching the show. I hope you continue to do so. And, like and share would be really cool. Stay kind, everybody. And peace out.
Thanks, Nancy.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.